Hello and welcome to another episode of Nerds with Badges. It has been a while since I did one of these videos. Life happens, as they say. It's just been really, there's a word I'm looking for. This has been a lot of stuff that's been going on. And, you know, sometimes when you want to write about something or you want to talk about something, and there's a lot of stuff, it's like you don't even know where to start from. But yeah, a lot has happened over the last few months, few weeks. Um, Let me see what's really going on right now. I guess what everybody's talking about, and as far as the video game industry goes, is probably Crimson Desert, which came out last week. It is another one of those sword and sorcery kind of like fantasy action types of games. Very much in line with The Witcher or one of those Dungeons and Dragons type games, but it's not a traditional RPG. It's not like a turn-based RPG. You walk around and stuff. You have your inventory, and thank God it's not a roguelite, or is it a roguelike, where when you die you lose everything. And I hate that every single game that was it's been coming out seems like it's been like that. So yeah, it's not a rogue. I'm glad that trend seems like it's kind of going away. Uh, I wanted to get this game called Screamer that came out. It's a racer. Maybe I'll get it and do a review next week. WonderCon is this coming weekend, so I already got my tickets. Probably gonna go and do a video. I'll probably go with my partner for Nerds with Badges, Taz. So we're gonna go out there. It's a 3-day thing. It's Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's in Anaheim, for anyone that lives here in California or in the Los Angeles area. It's in Anaheim, which is over by Disney. Tickets for Friday are 50, was it 50 something dollars. I think it's like $51 for Friday. Saturday is like 64, and Sunday was the cheapest day. I don't know why that is. Maybe they just figure Sunday's going to be a slow day and there might not be that many people. But I go on Sundays sometimes thinking that there are not going to be that many people, and it's crowded too. So there'll be a lot of people out there cosplaying. I'm sure. I didn't really take a look at the programs. I usually do. I don't know who's going to be there, but a lot of times there'll be Marvel or DC. Different companies might be there promoting stuff. Sometimes they'll have what do they call them? Where they'll come up on stage and they'll talk about the movie or the TV show or the comic, and people in the audience can ask questions and stuff. A panel, that's what they call them. So I'll go Friday. I bought my tickets for Friday. I went ahead and bought my tickets. I'm going to try to go early, be out there for a few hours, maybe go have breakfast, maybe go have lunch or something, because there's a place in the Grove that I used to go to. I haven't been in a while, but it's like a Cajun, Louisiana kind of, and they have this delicious catfish and this bread pudding. It's like pumpkin bread pudding. It's so good. And it's like $35 a plate. I mean, it's not bad. I mean, you get a lot of food. I'm never able to eat everything all at one time. I'll eat like half, and then I'll just take the rest home, put it in the refrigerator, and then eat it like the next day. But the bread pudding is so good, and it's big. They give you like this big chunk of bread pudding. There's a place that I get from. I usually order DoorDash or Uber Eats, and it's called. Oh my God! Oh my, catch it. Orleans in York. Oh my God, I can't remember the name of the place, but they make really. I think it's in Crenshaw. They make this really good bread pudding too, and they have this. It wasn't on the menu recently. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe they stopped serving it. It might be a seasonal thing. And they have this peach crumble. God, I can't remember the name of the place. Jeez. But yeah, I love bread pudding. I'm used to bread pudding having raisins in it. So I don't know. Maybe that's just maybe that's the generation. This generation that makes when they make bread pudding, they don't put the raisins in it. I don't know. But bread pudding, my grandmother used to make it, and I don't know how they make it, but it's if you've never had it, it's like cake, but it's kind of gooey. It's kind of a gooey uh, cake, moist, and it has flavor like I guess they use vanilla extract, cinnamon, and it's usually pretty thick and really good hot. You put ice cream in it. You can have it with ice cream just like you can with peach cobbler. So anyway, enough of that. So I had planned to do an episode of Nerds with Badges, maybe a episode or two every week, and I just have been so caught up in life, trying to pay bills, working on my projects, and the next thing I know, it's like months have gone by, and I'm like, okay, I need to get back because they say when you're doing these when you do these videos, you have to be consistent, and that's I guess that's how the algorithm works. Consistency. I don't have a lot of views with my podcast. I got to figure out a way to monetize all these things. So this stuff is still kind of new to me. I mean, I like doing it for fun, but it would be nice to get to get paid for doing what I like. That's what they say. Find something that you really like, that you're good at, and you get paid for it. I've been working security for many years, and I'm really glad that I took a chance with this industry, and it really helped me. I can pay my bills and keep a roof over my head and keep clothes on my back because of the training and all the years that I worked in security. I've been doing security with this particular company, the LGBT Center. I've been working here for 19 years. I will probably be leaving in 2027. I mean, that's the plan. I'm just been doing 9 to 5 for so long, and it's really all I know. I don't know what it's like to be in business for myself. That's what I want to experience. That's my goal. And I don't know if it's complacency. Sometimes, you just get caught up. And I think a lot of us are just used to going to a job and somebody else telling us what to do, and you get a couple of days to relax, you get your weekends, and then you're right back at work, and it's like the grind. And I want more out of life than that. I want to actually be able to make my own schedules and just be able to do, being rich and famous. I mean, I financially secure is just what I want, and luckily I don't have to, my rent is not that expensive because I've been in my apartment since '97, and we have rent control, and I have utilities included. So thankfully, when I move out of my apartment, whoever moves in is going to have to pay a lot more. But I've been in my apartment for 27 years, and it has really been a blessing. So in this time, I've been able to accomplish a lot of things that I wanted to do. When I first came to LA, I wanted to do cartoons. I think it was really, I wanted to do comic books and cartoons. And it took a while before that actually happened. I feel like I might have told this story before, but I remember going to this magazine when I first came to LA. When I first came to California, I lived in California. I lived in San Jose for a few months with a relative, and then I came to LA because I had to, because the person I was living with, they were going through a lot of stuff, and they were in a really bad situation. So I had to leave. It's either that either go to California with basically nothing, or go back home and just try to regroup. And I didn't want to go back to North Carolina, so I came to LA, 93, July 93. And I remember it must have been within the first month. It was a magazine called SBC, which stands for Stanley Bennett Clay. It was a LGBT, black oriented, more Afrocentric black gay magazine. And I went and I brought some short stories that I was working on. And the editor, publisher was like, you're not up to the quality that we're looking for. Come back. And so I stayed. I actually lived in a shelter for about 2 years, and I took some training, security training, and kept working on my writing. And I would write short stories at work sometimes just to pass the time, just to keep from being bored. I would write these short stories, and there was one particular story that I wrote, which was based on a situation that happened with a childhood friend of mine's. And I'm getting candid here, but that's what I do. So being a LGBT person, I had reached out to someone I considered a good friend, someone I hadn't talked to in years. And the phone conversation, when I called them, it was like really, really nasty. They were just like, I can't talk to you, I can't deal with you, I can't be around you because, you would have thought that I had like some terrible disease or something. And his mother was listening to our phone call. It was just so weird. She was on the other phone when we were talking. And it was just like a rejection. Didn't want to talk to me, and was just really nasty towards me. And that really, I never forgot that. It really hurt. So I wrote a short story where I made a situation like that in the story. And that's the particular story I submitted to the publisher. I submitted that and another story, just not really thinking anything, and he loved the story. And so he ended up publishing I think he published 4 of my stories in the magazine. And I need to get those stories and digitize them and maybe put them together, republish them. So that was my first time getting paid for my work. I had gotten some stuff published in a magazine back in North Carolina called the Voice, the Minority Voice. It was called, and the owner at the time, his name was Jim Rouse. I don't know if they paid me for those comic strips, and I think some poetry that I put in the newspaper. But officially, in an official capacity, the SBC was distributed worldwide. I mean, it was a really big deal. And that opportunity, I would love to take those stories and make some short films about them at some point, or maybe even full-length films. I think there's some good stories. Years ago, there was a series that came out called the DL Chronicles, and it was so good. It was short LGBT stories. I think there were about 4 of them. And then they did another one. They did one more. But it was, and they did a spin-off series. I think it was called the Chadwick Chronicles. It was on YouTube. It was these little short stories featuring one of the main characters. But there are LGBT movies out there, but I haven't seen anything else quite like the DL Chronicles. And I don't know what's going on with why no one else is doing anything like that. But if you haven't seen the movies, they're really good. I mean, they're right up there with Brother to Brother, which was that was the first thing I ever saw Anthony Mackie in. Anthony Mackie, also known as Captain America. I know a lot of people don't like him as Captain America because he doesn't have powers, but neither does Batman, and everybody loves Batman, right? So I ended up getting into writing scripts and stories, and at some point it must have been, I'd moved out of shelter. I moved out of shelter, and I was living with a guy in Long Beach for a while, and then I got my own apartment in '97, and I think it was must have been around 2005. I started getting more interested in film, and I grew up reading comic books, and I remember it was like I had this epiphany sometime in around 2005. You know, I just said, why aren't there like more black characters, like really cool black characters that have cool powers? A lot of times they'll have a black character, they'll be super strong, they'll be bulletproof, or they have like electricity powers, which is kind of a joke within the comic industry. You know, the black characters always have electricity powers for some reason. But you know, I wanted to do something to like create some characters. So I wanted to create my own universe. This is before Marvel and, you know, DC were doing their big crossover, you know, their connected universe. So I came up with this idea called Sons of Legend, which was a reality TV show. The idea was that there would be a reality TV show that would train you if you had powers, but it was like a comedy. So it would be a reality TV show, and I didn't really get into the reality TV show aspect of it, to be honest. I mean, I felt like I don't know what happened. It was more about superheroes fighting crime and fighting bad guys, and the reality show aspect just kind of was in the background, and it was never really, excuse me, I didn't really put as much focus on it. The first episode of Sons of Legend, it cost me $1,500. I will never forget. I hired this director. I cannot remember his name. Austin Ellsworth, I think it was. And I met him through a guy who was my roommate for a while named Kenyon. He introduced me. And I think the first time this director stood me up, and he apologized, and we were able to meet later. The first time me and Kenyon were going to meet him at a restaurant, and he didn't show up. But I ended up meeting him, and this guy went all out. I mean, it's still the best looking cinematography that I ever did, even though it was the first thing. The only problem was the special effects were really bad. But the episode, it involved a woman getting robbed by these two gangsters, and they had powers, so they were committing crimes. And I show up dressed as a ninja with another character who's supposed to be a Sons of Legend. So Sons of Legend were all people that had powers that they got from their parents or their grandparents. So that's why it was called Sons of Legend, because they were these guys that inherited powers from these mythical beings like gods and, you know, Dracula, you know, Dorian Gray. So these characters, they were called Sons of Legend because they were the children of legends. Sons of Legend, I did a lot of episodes. I cannot remember how many episodes I did, but I came up with 3 other spin-offs. There was Sons of Legend, which were supervillains who were trained. They were actually hired. It was a security company that specifically hired ex-supervillains and gave them jobs. Then there was Dragon Manx, which featured me as a kind of a Batman, Wolverine kind of character that dealt with like monsters and stuff. It was really the only LGBT series that I had. But I really wanted to do something dealing with monsters and creepy stuff. So it was Sons of Legend, Dragon Manx, which partially was filmed in Detroit, Michigan, which was like a place I would always go to just kind of get out of LA. And I had Daughters of Legend, which was a project that I did, which was women that were superheroes. But Daughters of Legend, I ended up getting in a really bad situation. Long story short, I lost control of that project, and I had to, I lost the rights to it. I mean, it was just a really dark time. Oops, the light went out. Hold on a second. Okay, that's good to let me know. I was trying to do just a 15-minute video, so I know I've gone over 15 minutes because of motion light when I try to play some video games before I start my shift tonight. I'm about to start my shift. So yeah, Daughters of Legend, I lost that project. I lost that particular ownership of that particular, and it was, you know, it was really painful because I put a lot of money and time into like producing episodes. So I had to come up with another concept with women. So that's why I came up with Satchwatch and the Mythology Sisterhood, which was replacing Daughters of Legends. So I wanted to have a series dealing with women. So Satchwatch and the Mythology Sisterhood is about a group of women that are bounty hunters, and they team up with Bigfoot. It's like they're kind of like their father figure, kind of a Captain America person. He was in suspended animation. He woke up thousands of years later in our time. You know, he's this big buff Native American guy who can transform into like a monstrous ape-like being. So I actually produced a few comic books recently, and the first issue of Satchwatch and the Mythology Sisterhood is actually going to be coming out sometime this year. I want to get back into doing the web series, and it was always my plan to do these 4 web series and then bring them all together into a big epic, you know, like Avengers Endgame or Justice League type of situation where everybody has to come together to fight this big threat. So losing ownership of Daughters of Legend just kind of threw a wrench in my plans. So in a way, I'm kind of having to start over again. I put out a cartoon years ago, and I'm working on another cartoon. The quality of the cartoon right now is the issue, because going from the first cartoon that I did was about it was called Detector Pig. It was about an alien crime fighting superhero, and that was 2D. That's on YouTube. Didn't really make any money. Put it out. Didn't really make much of an impact, but I still did it anyway, and I had help. I had a really cool animator named James O'Neill, and a really cool lady named Leslie that helped me out with production and getting voice actors and everything. So the new cartoon that I had produced earlier this year, was it last year when it finally got finished, but it's a 3D, and I like the cartoon, but I really want to do something, have a better quality animation. I don't know, maybe it's maybe something that we may have to revisit, because I mean, I know a lot of people hate AI, but it does make some things easier. It makes you know, you don't have to spend, I mean, as a creator and an artist and a writer, now I've been hiring people to do work for me for many years, and I spent a lot of money hiring people, but the AI makes it easier, and you know, you don't have to spend as much money, obviously, when you can have AI help you do things. But you know, you still have to have people write the stories and, you know, help design the characters. You know, I mean, it's a tool. I mean, there are some people will abuse these things just like with anything else. That's not me, and I've actually been, you know, gotten some real nasty messages from people about AI. People, you know, giving me their thoughts. You know, I shouldn't be doing AI, and you know, and I'm just like, the worst thing that ever happened to humanity. And I'm like, you know what? You're not paying my bills. You know, you're not really helping me or giving me feedback on anything. And I, you know, talk about AI a few times, and I get all this, like, where was this energy? Where was this support when I was doing my, you know, I don't know. It's just too much, man. I mean, you know, like I said, with anything that's created, there will always be someone that will abuse these things. But you know, it's like, it can be used for good. So right now, I started my podcast because you know, just listen to me talk. You know, I'm really into like pop culture and stuff. So I wanted to have a platform. This platform, Nerds with Badges, I created because I wanted to, you know, as a security guard that's into nerd culture, I wanted to dialogue with other security guards that are into nerd culture, and you know, do I've seen a lot of different podcasts, a lot of different, web shows or whatever you want to call them, a lot of vlogs, and I like talking about this stuff and just trying to meet other like-minded people and get people to come together. It's not easy. People say they want to do things, but I understand. I worked the 9 to 5 for many, many years, and I think it was a little complacency. When you see, I personally feel that everybody should be trying to go into business for themselves and trying to leave something behind, and working a 9 to 5, working for somebody else forever. It just got old. So I like talking about this stuff, and I wanted to connect with other people. And some people watch the stuff that I put out. I don't really get a lot of feedback. I get more feedback from the video game videos that I put on TikTok every day. I got 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I've kind of slacked off on my YouTube content. I want to get back into that, more into doing my YouTube videos, but I really want to start using these tools, using AI to do more stuff, because it makes a lot of things possible that was harder before as a filmmaker to do, because now you can actually like create actors and create sets and cool special effects, a lot of things that you can do with, if you learn the programs. So I want to definitely get back to doing my web series, and I want to relaunch everything. And so it's always my plan to get back to the web series, but I just had to decide whether I want to do a reboot or or just start fresh, from where I left off at. So it'd be like a soft reboot. So that's where I'm at, just really coming out of this like state of like depression, I guess, just because sometimes life happens, like I said, and you can just get caught up, and next thing you know, 5 years have gone by. 2020 happened. I mean, that just kind of like really pulled the rug out from under a lot of people. And I feel like I'm just now starting to come back to being me, and getting this comic book, this Satchwatch and the Mythology Sisterhood comic book done. I think that would be like a good catalyst, and it would definitely be a good way to introduce people to the project, to my concept. Doing a live action film like that is going to be a lot. It's going to take a lot of money, but I don't want to just do animation, And at some point, I want to get into video games as well. When I get into making my own video games, I play video games all the time. The industry, I think, would be interesting to work in the gaming industry. But I'm a pop culture aficionado. It's not just video games. It's also movies and comic books, TV shows, and I have a lot of knowledge about a lot of stuff. So being able to put this stuff out there and talk about it and build a following and make a living off of this stuff would just be fantastic. So I gotta figure out how to do that, and it could just be overwhelming sometimes when you have a lot, and there's a lot going on in the world right now. I'm not even going to get into it. There's just so much going on, and I just recently started talking to someone romantically. They don't live in the United States, so that's been a challenge. But it's something that I have to think about. Just trying to get this person over here in the United States at some point. Now, visas have been paused, so him coming to visit right now is not even possible. So it's just that's just something else to think about. And parents are getting up there in the years, so it's important to work on these relationships, and give people their flowers while they're here, as people say. So I might not even be living in California in another few years. That's something I got to think about while I'm building my brand, Nerds with Badges. I think there's a good market for what I'm doing. I think apparel is something I want to do. I want to do apparel, because I had some Nerds with Badges stuff done, shirts, and I got feedback from people, the hats and the shirts. So I definitely have something. It's just that I gotta figure out a way to tap into that. Um, so anyway, so that's where I am at, and I really, really gotta be more consistent with doing my videos though, because I think even if I just talk about stuff that's going on, it's still content. Someone said, there's a brother who said, when you got to do these videos, like you got to be consistent with your content. Just post stuff, just be consistent. So there's somebody walking by that works here at maintenance. She didn't even see me. It is 9:36 right now, so my shift starts at 10 o'clock. Hopefully it'll be really cool tonight. I work in a shelter for LGBT kids. Sometimes it can be pretty crazy here. Sometimes it can be stressful because they put this building like in the craziest neighborhood that they could have put it in. So you never really know when something could just go from being quiet and peaceful to just being some crazy situation, because these kids, man, there's some good kids here. I mean, I'm not even going to say all the kids are bad, but some of these kids have some problems. They just love fighting and just the drugs and the violence and just being, it's almost like being in another world sometimes. And when I was coming to work tonight, I was talking with my Uber driver, and we were talking about how some people behave a certain way, maybe because they don't know any better. But then when you add drugs and alcohol into the mix, I know when I was a teenager, I did crazy things. Nothing like what I see these days. Because my parents would have killed us. They would have killed us. It's been an experience, and it has given me some some material for stories. I mean, it definitely given me some inspiration. It's good to see some of the kids actually go through the program and actually excuse me. I lived in a shelter when I first came to LA, so it helped me out. It really did. It was a program by the Salvation Army, and I don't even know what my situation would have been if I hadn't been able to get help from that program. But sometimes it just makes me angry when I see people that don't really appreciate what what some of these organizations do, the services that they provide, clothes, food, vouchers for transportation. It's something. It's better than nothing. And sometimes I just feel that some people are just entitled and just don't really appreciate. That's just my thing. But I've been here for 19 years, and it's the job it's changed a lot. And just like with anything in life, I think you get to a point when you have to, you got to evolve and you got to move forward. You got to move into something else. So I see myself in another few years, definitely being in a different situation. The plan would be like being financially independent, or just having my own business. I don't know if I want to do security too much longer. I think I've done security long enough. Some people have said you should be a supervisor, or I even thought about like having my own company, but it's not. The artist and writer in me is just like, when there's a lot of noise going on tonight. We can go to other planets and make these miracles, and we can't make motorcycles that don't make all this freaking noise. So I'm gonna go and do a show on Friday. I don't know if I'm gonna get a microphone, because when you go and you gotta be careful when you go. If you're gonna go film somewhere, you gotta be like low key about it, unless you have like a permission. You can't be walking around with a microphone and a big ass camera filming without permission or permit. So you got to do it on the DL. But if you're just walking around talking and stuff, nobody's gonna say anything. So I got to figure out like what kind of format, you know, come up with some questions, some things. Maybe talk to some of the cosplayers. Maybe try to, maybe get a few on the DL interviews, and just talk about stuff going on in the comic industry. I mean, it's WonderCon, it's comic conventions, but it's really more about other things now than it is comic books. Comic books is a very small part of these conventions, these comic book conventions now. So anyway, I got about 20 minutes left before my shift starts officially, and I guess I feel better. I got a lot of stuff off my chest. I feel like there was some other things I want to talk about, but that can always be done in other episodes of Nerds with Badges. And not every episode is going to be just me. There'll be some episodes where I have guests and I'll have co-hosts and we'll do other things. But this was like a more intimate, what I was feeling, and just talking about stuff that's going on and just kind of catching people up on everything. And probably the next time I come back with an episode, I might be reviewing something, or it might just be Friday. I don't know if I'm going to hire anyone to edit everything, or I might try to edit it myself. I'm trying to save that money. So anyway, thank you for your time and for listening to me talk about my goals and my plans and my Nerds with Badges. Maybe when I come back, I'll actually be wearing some of my, a t-shirt, a Nerds with Badges shirt and hat, so I can actually look more official. Anyway, I'm signing out for now. I got 20 minutes left. Maybe I'll break out the Nintendo Switch too and try to play a little bit of this Chronos, the New Dawn game, since they patched it. The helicopters flying over. They patched the game. This game came out last year, and it was so difficult that I guess people complained, so they patched the game. They added like a difficulty selection because they didn't have it initially. And what else? They added like a lot of other stuff. I know there was some different costumes they added. But it sucks because even though they added a difficulty selection, you got to start over again. You can't just select like in any other game. You can change difficulty anytime, but no, you got to start over again. But I was stuck at a boss that I couldn't get. I'm almost halfway there now, so this is kind of frustrating. It's still kind of hard. I'm not even gonna lie. But it's called Chronos, the New Dawn, and it's available on every platform. So I ended up getting it for the Switch too because I really wanted to see this, how powerful this system, what it could really do. I got Resident Evil Requiem for my Xbox Series S, and I got the Fatal Frame Crimson Butterfly, I think it was called, I got that for my PlayStation 5, and I got the Crimson Desert game for my PC. So I try to get games on every platform, but man, games are expensive now. I want to do like some comprehensive reviews of these games though at some point, and maybe figure out a way to do some gameplay videos where I can talk. I haven't figured out how to do that yet. All this stuff is new to me. But the Fatal Frame game I just wish the girl could run faster, man. The Resident Evil is good. It's very, wow, the gore, wow, I'm just like shocked. They don't hold back. Like I said, the Chronos is kind of hard. I'm glad they got a difficulty selection. And Crimson Desert, man, that game, the controls are just like, the buttons are just mapped really weird, and it performs really good on my laptop. Now next month, what is it coming out? What is the name of it? Oh my God, Pragmata. That's a Capcom game. It's the demo is available and it's really good. You're like this guy with like an astronaut suit, kind of like, it's giving me like Dead Space. And there's a little girl that's like on your back. She's like a robot. She kind of helps you. And the demo is really good. I would advise anyone to try it out because that's going to be a hit. I'm going to have to resist the temptation to buy these games and start waiting for sales, man, because games are expensive now. Anyway, I will do some reviews, some more comprehensive reviews. I think that'd be really good, and talk about some of the comic books that I've been reading too, and some new movies and TV shows that are coming out. So now I got like 15 minutes before I start my shift. So I don't know if I'm gonna have time to play any games, but thank you for tuning in. I will definitely be back with a video, if not before Friday. Definitely to let everyone know how my WonderCon, which is a sister comic convention to San Diego Comic Con and Los Angeles Comic Con. Jeez. Thanks. I'm out of here.